I first found Taylor Stone through her podcast, Vibe Higher, and I was hooked. She brings an incredibly integrative approach to leveling up that focuses on bringing every aspect of your life into balance. So, in our conversation, we ended up talking a lot about terms that we typically throw around, like self sabotage, pivoting, unworthiness, and a lot more. And I swear Taylor reveals them in a way that makes them all feel like paper tigers, so easy to overcome and just move through and past. So Taylor is a former NFL cheerleader. She's a self-mastery teacher, an energy healer, and a spiritual mentor who helps women make the connection of how their minds and current belief systems influence their overall well-being. Her website is innergoddesshealth.com. She is truly walking the walk of growth, and let's go walk with her a bit. Hi, I'm Summer McStravick with flowdreaming.com, and welcome to this series, Scarcity Thinking Sucks, So Do Limiting Beliefs. So let's dissolve your limited thinking, dump those scarcity thoughts, own your power, and get you back on your feet, reaching for the stars. Over the course of these episodes, you'll hear from some really brilliant minds about ways they pinpoint and blow up limiting beliefs in their specific areas of expertise. So come with me on a journey into your mind and heart, and let's see what we can find in these very enlightening conversations. Hi, Taylor. How are you?
I'm doing amazing. How are you?
I'm great. It's a beautiful day here in Southern California, and
Love
just
it.
happy to get things going and especially to get this interview going with you because I just found you recently, and I was like, "Where have I been? How did I miss her? How did this happen?"
I love that's how I feel about you. Yeah.
Oh, well, I mean, because you take so many disciplines and you merge them together, you meld them
Mhm.
to create that balance for people. And I want to talk to you about that in terms of when you see people, particularly, I think you probably work mostly with women,
Mhm.
and you see in them these feelings of I'm not good enough, I can't, etc. I mean, is that the limiting belief? Because that's our topic today, the limiting beliefs and
Mhm.
scarcity. Is that what you really see most in people and the kind of work you do?
I do, and I usually label it as unworthiness, and I see it
Unworthiness.
as
Mhm.
yeah, I see it as almost a disease that people usually aren't aware of that is very healable. It's very curable, and it starts by really just embodying and remembering that we were all born worthy. That there's not one person who was born with more gifts or more talents, and it's more just stepping into that and claiming it. So unworthiness, absolutely, it's the I'm not good enough, I'm not ready, who am I? And it all comes down
Mhm.
to just embodying more of that.
Right. And so, I mean, another way of looking at it is people who are afflicted with comparativitis, I guess
Yes.
I would say. That
Very
person
much.
over there is better, faster, stronger, smarter, sweeter, bigger, whatever. So when you start working with people and you've already discovered they already know this about themselves. I mean, most of us, we pretty much recognize when we're feeling insecure, unworthy, I can't. What is the first step in the journey that you do, or is it completely individual?
It's usually individual. Right now, I don't do a lot of one on one coaching, but what I've
Mhm.
found is it comes down to the releasing of the environment that's not serving them. A lot of
Hmm.
times we don't bloom. There's that saying, don't, replace the flower, change the environment. And I tend to find that a lot of women are not leaving expired either relationships or friendships or mindsets or energies in general, and they're not yet ready or willing to embody that new frequency that's trying to come through, that their higher
Mhm.
self is calling them to embody that. So it's really finding out, I call it Marie Kondoing your life, where it's quite literally finding out, auditing the circle your
Mhm.
entire being. And it's amazing what people will find of, okay, well, this has not been serving me and this has not been serving me. And
Mm.
it's healing that specific trigger, right? To
Mhm.
find out, what is it that is not first allowing me to step into this. And then
Mm-hmm.
realizing, we're our own leaders, we're our own gurus, and we really have to take the lead, and no one is coming to save us. So it's such, I love that you said I have different disciplines, because it does have to do with the mind, the body, the spirit, and really just integrating everything together to quite literally, embody that version of themselves that they know is there. It's just a matter of a lot of shedding, a lot of layers that need to be
Mm.
released to fully just embody who deep down that you're meant to be.
Yeah. I really like that idea that you started with, because in all my conversations so far, I haven't come across that.
Mm.
Most people are saying change inside and don't worry about the outside stuff. And what
I
you're
think,
saying is you
yeah.
can't plant a rose in concrete. And what we've created outside us is an accumulation, perhaps, of the years of our living. And
Right.
it may not be reflective of what's allowing us to move to the next level. So clear that first and
Mm-hmm.
give yourself a kind of nice open pool,
Right.
pool of light, pool of
Right.
energy to start working within. I mean, is that kind of
I
it?
believe it's both. I think we do need both of those together as one.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe that we need to really integrate making sure that we are focusing on ourselves. Again, taking accountability, because we have to, it all starts with us. And we have to make sure that we're really finding out exactly, where is it that we are self sabotaging? Where is it that we need to
Mm-hmm.
take more responsibility? But also on the outside as well of, okay, where is it that these triggers are coming in? Because I do believe, and I actually had a great podcast episode that I wanted to create that has to do with this, do you heal the trigger first? Do you heal the trigger? Do you release the trigger? Or do you heal what's inside of yourself that's not allowing the trigger to affect you? So in essence, we find out where inside of us we can heal. We can do the work within. That way, those things externally don't affect us as much. So I do feel like it's a juxtaposition of
Mm-hmm.
doing both, because we can't thrive, right? Our internal reality is going to manifest into the external. So it's a combination of, just kind of flowing, as you would like to say, through it, and
Mm-hmm.
paying attention to it and having the consciousness and the awareness of it when it shows up.
Yeah. So the trigger for unworthiness, I mean, there are so many
Mm,
triggers, and that we feel unworthiness in multiple areas of our life, or even more confusingly, I feel worthy at work, but I feel very unworthy in my relationship. How do you help people really discover where the low spots are, where the spots that need to be filled are?
I do believe it starts with where you're not willing to be seen, where you're not fully showing up, whether it's your
Mhm.
relationship, whether it's a friendship, whether it's your business, your career, or even for yourself. Where are the places that you find yourself continuously self-sabotaging yourself, having, the upper limits come up? I think a lot of it is from past trauma, whether that's a past life situation, whether that's a current life situation. And trauma is relative, right? It could be something very horrible, or it could be that you were broken up in high school and ever since then you haven't healed your heart. So I do believe that it's a matter of just identifying. I always say everything is just information. You don't want to put too much pressure on the things that are, things that you didn't want to manifest, or the way that you didn't want to feel, and just see it as information of where you can pivot, shift your paradigm, and choose differently,
Mhm.
really just in any moment.
Yeah, yeah. Self-sabotage, you've mentioned that a couple
Mhm.
of times now. It's kind of a scary word for some of us, because we think, I'm doing something to hurt myself and I don't know I've done it till after it's done.
Yeah.
What if I accidentally do it again? I don't know when it's coming, what
Mhm.
it's going to look like. How do you help people see it, or face it, or get through that?
Yeah. Yeah. Identifying it, I believe, is the first step. Seeing it, not trying to bypass it, and asking yourself. I think a really great tool, or something that you can actually question yourself about, is where is it in my life that I'm complaining about certain things, and where is the
Mhm.
repetition? So if you're complaining about, maybe it's financial, maybe it's, your abundance, prosperity, well, where is it that that comes up over and over again? If it's within your relationship or relationships in the past, where does that come up? If it's within, the
Mhm.
thoughts that you're having in your mind, Are you maybe getting on social media a little bit too much and you're noticing the trend? It's all about really noticing what was happening previous to that and where it is that maybe you can just take more responsibility for it. Sometimes we will go through things when the energies are higher and, we have a full moon or a new moon, but ultimately I really do believe that a lot of things that come up, it's just information for us to see, to pivot. Again, not guilt or shame ourselves because that's so low on the vibrational scale, and just see it as opportunity and not give yourself grace. I always say pump yourself with grace. It's available for all of us. We're human. We're human and we're allowed.
We forget sometimes, right?
Yes, we do. And so just seeing it, being able to see it. And again, I think when you see it as information, you don't see it as I'm bad, I'm wrong. I mean, there's really no such thing as good or bad. It just is. And seeing that as an opportunity always.
Yeah. I think some kinds of self-sabotage are so subtle that we don't even realize we're doing them, but we're doing it because there is a limit in us or a belief or that unworthiness.
Right.
So we engage in the sabotage as a way to
it's comfortable.
To hold ourselves back from sort of transcending that limitation. Right. And like I'll see it in the form of people. I'll say, you had this wonderful opportunity. You had a deadline for it. You let it pass by. Why did you do that? And they're not even seeing it as self-sabotage, more just like, oh, I procrastinated, or I wasn't sure. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe that's something a little different going on.
Yeah.
Now, how do you spot it? Like specific incidences that you've seen in people that you've worked with or talked with or interviewed or whatever?
Yeah, it's that. And it's also, seeing it as, where am I missing this growth opportunity? What if that real small pivot will allow you to, again, embody that higher self? And I think a lot of times too, it is our environment where if I do this, I lose this. And we have to be willing to let that go, to surrender, to say, if I do embody, let's say, this new role, or if I do this certain thing, it's going to get me there. I think a lot of times we are very intuitive. I think a lot of times we're very much in our knowing, and our knowing tells us that once we do this, this will release, this will fall away. And our personality, our ego, our small self wants to hold on to that so much that it doesn't allow the soul to take the lead. And so I think really releasing more of that unconscious energy that doesn't allow us, and being open, being aware, taking time to sit in silence, in a culture that is very much hustle, do, and really more embodying the feminine of sitting, being present, pausing and saying, okay, I'm seeing this trend again, seeing it, and then really allowing yourself to say, okay, where can my soul more take the lead? Because I'm seeing this come up. And the thing is that I think people think that that's just going to go away, but the soul is just going to keep bringing it up more and more and more. And that's where suffering comes. And we get to choose, do we want to suffer through this? Or do we want to take that scary leap, which, fear is in everyone. Everyone encounters this. And it's really doing it, realizing we didn't die, and then realizing the blessing and the beauty that comes out of it. Yeah.
Yeah. I love how you have such a constantly positive mindset, right? Every answer, everything you're saying is always leading back to be gentle with yourself, be in a state of grace with yourself,
because
forgive yourself. You're not perfect.
Beating myself up. I've been there.
Like how did you get there?
I know that that's not productive, and I know that doesn't cause clear thinking, right? When you're in fight or flight and you're in constant victim mindset, there's no space. There's no space to actually sit back and look from an outside perspective. I think we need to do that more often. Just, raise, not astral project, but, raise up and look at your life from a bigger picture and see, okay, where is it? Where is it that I'm a little bit out of alignment here or there? And again, just as information, I but mainly in college, just debilitating anxiety of the future and just a lot of different, neurological things happening, which now in retrospect, I know it was all in my mind. I know it was all fear of the future. I know it was so much stress, being overworked. And so I knew I had to live that in order to be able to teach and say, you don't have to live this way. and really just helping, give women a new perspective of, this may have happened. Forgive yourself for that. But you have a choice. You have an option to embody something different, a new frequency, a new energy vibration. And, what's it going to be? Do you want to stay in the past or stay with your small self and ego, or, take that leap into the higher version of yourself?
What I'm hearing from you, again, another kind of thread that's coming out a lot here is I give you permission. I
Mm-hmm.
give you permission to change your circumstances. You give yourself permission to change the relationship, to let go of stress. But the key here is giving yourself permission, or feeling as if I do have permission. And it's kind
Right.
of a weird concept, but I know I've used that in the past with my own clients and students. I say, I give you permission now to do blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And it's like, we all know it's funny and we laugh about it, ha ha ha. But it does kind of break you open. Like, somebody said it's actually okay. I wonder if it
Mm.
actually is okay. Have you encountered that? Or, I mean,
Oh,
do you hear that?
absolutely. Yeah, and it's funny that you say laugh about it, because when I do say things like that, I always say it's not me giving you permission. It's just a fun way to say I'm giving you permission, when really it's just you giving yourself permission. And
Yeah.
I'm not a religious person, but I believe in God and a higher power. So whether you want to say source,
Hmm.
creator, God, I believe that we have a responsibility to embody this, and we are, in a sense, meant to be here to give each other permission, right? Someone had to go first. Someone went for me, where I learned from them. And it's one of those things where permission, we have such a fear of being powerful. And it's deeply ingrained, again, from past lifetimes, or being told we're too much or too big or too loud, especially women. And I think it's just
Yeah.
remembering that power is what we're all supposed to embody, remind each other about. And so I think it is a fine line of saying, you have permission always, but if you need to hear it from me that you do have permission, that's why mentorship is so powerful, because it gives us that extra oomph.
Yeah.
I always say that I don't ever want to have to mentor someone forever. I really want to give them the tools to, lead and potentially teach this work. I think that's the biggest testimony when someone starts teaching this work, but really
Hmm.
just reminding them. It's a reminder. It's a remembrance. It's not, here you go, you're anointed, you have permission. It's, I'm reminding you of that worthiness and of that power.
Hmm. And that's when, as you would say, you can pivot. So pivoting is
Yeah.
another thing that we've been kind of sprinkling through our
Yeah.
conversation. Um, and I want to just get real nitty gritty. When
Yeah.
you experience yourself recognizing, oh, I feel unworthy here, or ooh, I'm feeling anxiety or a limit, and I'm going to pivot. Like, what does that mean? What is
Mhm.
the feeling? What is the shift in your mind, in your behavior? What does it really look and feel like?
Yeah.
Because
I
it's a
make
word
it
we throw
fun.
around, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, I make it fun. And so let's just say, I'm going on with my business, I'm working, and I have a really limited belief come up, and it's just very out there. I really try to laugh that off, because I know it's not mine. I know that there are other energies around me. I know that if I'm focusing on something, and again, we have to be responsible. If maybe I'm watching a horror movie, or maybe I'm on social media and looking at the latest gossip or whatever, then yes, I need to take responsibility. But if I am, in alignment, in integrity in that moment, and a thought comes up, I just laugh it off and I say, nice try, right? Because we believe in the light, we have to believe a little bit in
Mhm.
frequencies that are not wanting the best for us. And I do in that moment have a decision to say, you know what, I don't agree. I don't consent. I don't believe in that. And I carry on with my
Mhm.
day. Has it always been like this? No, but I find when I make it fun and I just make it like a joke, like, no, I'm not going to listen to you. And I just kind of
Mhm.
change it and change kind of the energy around it from being dark and scary and bad, then it shifts a lot of
Mhm.
things for me. And that's where the opportunity comes in, where we all have these
Yeah.
opportunities. I always say that I'm no different than anyone just starting this work. I just am practiced. I'm not special.
Yeah.
I've practiced this for years and years and lifetimes. And so it's just a decision of, really making that decision over and over again, whether it's, a quote unquote mistake you made or a self sabotage. It's, you know what, I'm going to take accountability. I can not make it as serious and I can move on from there.
Mhm. So releasing for you is a big part of your everyday, every moment. I did
Yes.
something, it didn't work out. I hit a problem, a wall, bad thinking. And I'm just going to release that and move on because I'm
Yeah.
aware of it and move on.
Yeah. And honoring
Hmm.
the emotion too that comes up. There will be times where I can easily laugh it off and say, wow, that was a massive fail, but I'm not going to let that consume me. And then there's been
Hmm.
times where it's been so overwhelming that I get frustrated and emotional. And I equally believe we have to honor that as well, because it just becomes
Hmm.
trapped emotions. You don't want to push that down because it manifests, as you know, into all types of toxic disease and things like that. So I honor it.
Yeah.
I don't believe that there's a good or bad emotion. I just think that it is, and it's part of what needs to
Hmm.
be released. It's coming up to be let out, and we have to allow that to process. So it's definitely not, because I think sometimes people can get it confused with spiritual bypassing. Oh, well, you're just going to ignore it. Well, that
Hmm.
depends. Is it a small insignificant thing? The minutia of things that happened, or can I remember that I'm an emotionally intelligent person and that I have to agree to something external in order to be triggered, or even in order to be triggered by myself, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of those things that trigger us are, like you said, beliefs that really don't belong to us.
Right.
And I see that often. It's the things that we take for granted. A marriage should look like this.
Mm-hmm.
This is how you should work. This is the way that you should think about your future or save for your future. This is the way your body should look. This is the way. And we don't realize these are things we kind of picked up and drank in from
Yeah.
other people. And we
Mm-hmm.
never stop to question until we realize this thing is hurting me and it's grinding on me and I can't ever seem to be perfect in it. And I think that's where it pops open for us and we say, is this my belief?
Yeah.
I mean, do you have a process for that or
Powerful. Yes.
a way you do it?
Yeah, it's the shoulding on myself.
Yeah.
Should I be doing this? Should I
Yeah.
be doing that? I should. I need to. And I
Yeah.
always say, be aware of that. And I
Hmm.
find that specifically happens for me when I'm consuming too much social media. I could
Yeah.
be in a completely flow state. I could be
Mhm.
completely present. Today's my day off. I'm just going to flow wherever my soul takes me. If I get on social media and I see that so and so is doing this, that's when the shoulding starts, and I can immediately catch it now. I used to go down the rabbit hole and into that unworthiness, but we have an opportunity to
Yeah.
catch it. So I'm very discerning on social media. I set time limits for myself. I mute everyone, and I'm very
Mhm.
I very much want to be aware when I'm going to someone's page. I don't do the scrolling, and not because I don't want to support people, but because I know we all have these tendencies, right? So
Yeah.
it's the
Yeah.
shoulding. That's when I see it come up. I should be doing this. Why? Like you said, questioning it. Why should I be doing this? Is it because I saw someone doing that, or is it because it's a true
Mhm.
soul desire? And there's a huge difference between the two.
I think anybody listening can really take some relief from that because if you're doing it's kind of like, well, I guess it's okay that I'm doing it because
Yeah.
you actually have, a huge Instagram following. Your Vibe Higher podcast is enormous. And even you will go on social media and say, oh, look what so and so is doing. And
Oh, yeah.
you've been caught in that of,
Yeah.
getting out of that, of course. But to know that you do it makes me feel a little better.
I
Or
think
have done it,
everyone
or
does it.
have done it. Let's put it
Yeah,
that way.
I think
Mhm.
everyone does it to an extent. I think again, it's part of our humanness. It's part of
Yeah.
each other wanting to thrive, and seeing someone, especially if you're very driven or ambitious and want to really impact people. It's I think something that
Mhm.
you can't avoid, right? It's something
Yeah.
that I think is inevitable, but the difference is catching it, seeing it for what it is, and then coming back. Constantly coming back and remembering we're on our own specific journey. We're on our own voyage. We all have soul agreements and soul contracts. And
Mhm.
who am I to say I should be doing that or I need to be doing this? And the same goes for judging other people. I can't say someone should be
Mhm.
doing this rather than this, because judgment, another very low frequency that, I don't,
Yeah.
our words are powerful, our thoughts are powerful, and it's about seeing it, having the awareness, not judging it, and then coming back into that alignment.
Yeah, exactly. Um, there was something that just popped in my head and it just flew away just as quickly.
It'll come back.
Gosh, what it'll come back. I feel like my mom always said, just go up and catch the thought.
Oh
Go,
my
where did it
God.
go? Go find it.
I
So
love
catch
it.
that thought. It'll circle back
Yeah.
around again. Um, what brought you to this mindset? I mean, like I said in the intro, you were an NFL cheerleader.
Mhm.
You had it seem like a great career, a great path already. What prompted you to say it's not good enough? I need something else, and here's where it is.
So my background, my whole life, dancing, fitness, sports,
Mm-hmm,
dancing in the NFL, very much was health related. My
mm-hmm,
degree in college was health promotion, exercise science. I then started realizing, oh, there's another component. It's nutrition. Great. I went back to school to become a nutritionist.
yeah.
Okay, there's another component. It's not all about nutrition. What about the mind? And it really just gradually started going from there. I started teaching more about the mind body connection. I started teaching more
Mm-hmm,
about, really focusing on your thoughts, mindset. Then I started learning a lot more, with great appreciation to Hay House and of course Louise Hay and everyone
mm-hmm,
there, learning more about the mind and vibration and frequency. And I started working with alchemy and became an energy healer, which I really believe we're all healers. I believe we're all self healers and we can all work in conjunction with God, with Source. And I started
mm-hmm.
realizing the impact it had on my own life and really just integrating everything together, because that's how we really become what I call superhuman. We tap into the super conscious, we tap into our supernatural. We were meant to have the supernatural abilities. And so it really wasn't a forceful type of thing. It was really just a natural, like we said, pivoting and then pivoting and pivoting, really just following my bliss of what I was interested in, really just being in integrity, knowing that it worked for me. And how can I not teach this? If it works for me, I need to scream it from the rooftops and tell as many people as possible about this work. And so it has really been amazing to see it really just evolve from quite literally the body to the mind to the spirit, but then at the same time, seeing everything is not separate and everything working together. Yeah.
You're kind of an embodiment or an example of the old, saying that we have in personal growth: go where your heart leads you.
Yeah.
It's not going to lead you wrong. And don't be afraid of where it leads
Right.
you. Even if it looks like it's leading you out of something that was good or working or socially
Right.
appropriate, let yourself go there. And
Trust.
that in itself is about letting go of beliefs, like one after another, just tumbling them away.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Yeah, it's the trust. It's the faith walk, right? It's
yeah.
not seeing the path, but at the same time, seeing the
Mhm.
path, knowing that there's a message in this calling, and there's a message in where I'm being led, and it's not my responsibility to know the steps. It's just my responsibility to take the leap and listen, right, to my intuition, to the
Mhm.
synchronicities. I think that's a huge part with being silent and being
Oh, yeah.
conscious and awake and aware, is where are these synchronicities? We're always being fed information. It's never not there. It's just a matter of getting still, getting silent, being open to receive and receptive, and
Mhm.
not as hard as what people make it out to be, right? It can feel hard, but it doesn't have to be hard. We will have hard times, but it's the difference between having short-term pain and suffering throughout our whole
Yeah.
lives.
Yeah. Yeah. So, people who are listening or watching right now, they're like, "I love you, Taylor. I
Aw.
want to go listen to Vibe Higher, and I want to, find out more about you." And so you've given us something that we can give to them. Do you want to explain what that is? The meditation?
Yes, I have a heart opening meditation on my website, which really helps you connect to the quantum field, helps you to open up your heart space, and really just be in gratitude for the day, which, hopefully, as everyone knows, I mean, that creates the coherence that starts to magnetize everything towards you. So that's on my website, which is
Great.
innergoddesshealth.com. And my podcast, as you mentioned, everywhere podcasts can be found.
Which is everywhere.
Yeah.
So
So many
go
outlets.
listen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So also, I will be providing that link here, either with the video that you're watching or in the podcast. So you'll be able to either find it on Taylor's site or right here where you're listening or watching this. Well, Taylor, thank you so much. It's been a beautiful
Thank you.
conversation. You're so inspirational in that you're walking the walk that you're then teaching others, and
Mhm.
that just pours out of you as you're talking. Like, well,
Thank you.
I
I
just
appreciate
decided to
that.
do this. I
Yeah.
now I'm doing this, and if I'm doing this, you can do this. You
Yeah.
make it feel almost effortless. So, and I know it hasn't been, but you
No,
make
it
it
has
feel
not,
that
but
way. Yeah.
it eventually
Hmm.
gets to a nice, good flow.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much, and I know
Thank
that we'll be
you.
in touch.
Perfect.